Right, so anyone who's been watching the Total Carp YouTube channel for any amount of time will know that I've been using Wolf's Icon alarms for a good few years now. I've been a real big fan of the functionality and features that these alarms have, but there's no denying that they're quite big and bulky alarms. Now, just recently, Wolf have released this, the brand new Icon X1 alarm, and as you can see, it's significantly smaller than the other Icon alarms in the range, such as the Q and the QI that I've been using. So let's run through some of the key features on this, the Icon X1, because if it's anything like the other alarms in the range, then it's going to be a brilliant little alarm. Now, despite its tiny size, the X1 actually features many of the key features that are found in the other Icon alarms that make them a really, really functional bit of kit. It features the same variable detection sensing system with that high sensitivity roller wheel, which is something that I've really appreciated from the other Icon alarms. Add to this, you've also got drop back tone differentiation, and that means that the alarms really keep you up to date with what's happening on your bobbin and ultimately what's happening out in the pond. As you can see from the front of the alarm, you've got a sensitivity dial, and when you combine this with the super sensitive roller wheel and 8 sensitivity settings all the way from 2mm to 300mm, it gives you loads and loads of choice for setting your alarm exactly as you need it to make sure you're not struggling with false indication. Or equally, if you're fishing really tight lines, maybe fishing up against snags, and you want to make sure that you register some indication on the slightest movement of the bobbins, then you can make sure this is ramped up to full sensitivity and you'll be alerted of any movement on the line. The other dial on the front of the alarm is principally a volume dial, but it's also used for a number of the other settings in the alarm, which we'll run through in a bit. And then you've got an on and off button and also a mute button. Now, before I actually go through some of the other functions, it's probably worth mentioning one of the other big points that makes this alarm differ from the other items in the Icon range, and that's the fact that it actually doesn't feature standard batteries. Now, alarms like the Q, Q2 and QI, they run off 3 AA batteries, whereas the X1 actually has a built-in lithium-ion battery, which is rechargeable through a Type-C interface, and Wolf claim between 375 and 500 hours of runtime, which is plenty of time, and that's when the alarm's paired, and you get even more runtime when the alarm's unpaired and you're just using it as a standalone alarm. Right, so to turn on the alarm, simply press and hold down the on-off button for about 3 seconds. A little blue light will come on, it'll flash, and then once that's ready, you can turn the alarm on. And if I just take a little stick that I've got here, run it over the roller wheel, you'll see there that it makes a sound. I can control the volume with the little dial, so I can ramp that up, turn it up even more. I'll keep it down to a reasonable level. There you go. So then other functions are, if you actually press that on and off button, rather than holding it down, just a single press, the actual LED will flash up with a battery level indicator. Now this is green here, which shows that it's got a good level of battery. Yellow would be an okay level of battery, and red means that you've got low level battery, and that means that you want to make sure that you charge up the alarm. Whilst in this setting, you can also change the tone of the alarm by simply rotating the volume wheel. So you've got loads of settings there, from really, really high pitched to really low pitched. I'll set it somewhere in the middle. I like them quite high, and then I can just simply turn that off. If you then hold down the on-off button, it will then flash and come up into the configuration mode, and in that setting you can then use the dial to change the LED colour. So you've got no LED, red, green, blue, cyan, yellow, magenta and white. And then also if you rotate the sensitivity dial, you can actually change the brightness of that LED too, but I'm going to leave it for now on the brightest setting. A couple of other key features that are worth mentioning is you've got some rubber rod grippers which stop your rod from sliding on a take. You've also got a little beta light slot if you want to add a beta light, a little isotope for extra illumination, and then also on the back next to the charging port you've also got a smart port for using with Wolf's illuminated hangers. So that's the Icon X1 alarm, and to go alongside the X1 alarm, Wolf have also released a much smaller hub receiver, and that's the XR hub receiver. Now, it's worth mentioning though, before we go on to the finer details of that the actual X1 alarm is hub link compatible, which means that you can use the X1 alarm with the original hub receiver and the QR hub too. Now, the really cool thing about this is that you've got this small functional little head, and then on the hub receiver, for instance, it's actually got a two-way transmission, meaning that you can control the actual alarm head from your bivvy. But for now, that's pretty much everything you need to know on the actual X1 alarm. Let's now take a look at the XR receiver. So the XR hub is a much smaller, lighter, more compact version of the hub designed to complement the X1 alarm. Once again, like the X1 alarm, the XR hub has a built-in lithium-ion battery which is charged through a USB Type-C interface for fast charging. The XR hub has 4 different channels to link to the alarms, and the LEDs can replicate all of the colour variations which are found on the different Wolf alarms. You've got all of the functions that you could really need from a receiver, with volume adjustment and even things like a global mute and unmute function, which means that you can mute the alarm heads from the actual receiver head itself. There's a few other little features which I haven't mentioned, but if you do really want to get into the nitty-gritty, then make sure to check out the full details on the Wolf website. But one thing that's definitely worth mentioning is both the XR hub and the X1 alarms, when registered with Wolf, get a 5-year manufacturer's warranty for any sort of defects, which gives you complete peace of mind that these will continue to serve you well into the future.